Damon Martin, MMA fighting here with a good friend, former podcast co-host, and a guy who's about to fight here coming up in the UFC in just a couple weeks. The immortal Matt Brown. Matt, what's going on?
What's up, man? Maybe we gotta get our podcast back sometime, huh?
I know. It's funny. I looked at your Wikipedia page before doing this because you're fighting Dhiego Lima, and I was trying to remember when you fought Douglas. You fought his brother years ago. I was trying to remember when that was. And I was looking at your Wikipedia page, and it still lists you doing the podcast with me and Loper and Coleman. I was like, God, I miss doing that show.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to start it back up again, man. That was a good time.
Yeah, I miss doing those, man. Doing those in studio was so much fun. I mean, you and Coleman were a show in and of itself. Like, I didn't really need to be there. Just watching you and Coleman talk was pretty much the show.
Well, Coleman. Coleman's always a good show.
Yeah. So what's going on, man? Obviously, fight coming up in a couple weeks. Obviously, train. I saw. Obviously, you got. I saw Mickey Gall was in town training. I saw you actually even went down to was it Nashville recently and trained a little bit.
Yeah, I was down there a little bit with Coach Dorian. Where you know Dorian. He's got a full-time job down there at Michael Chandler's gym, Nashville MMA. So I just went down, hung out with him a little bit, got some tips and tricks from him, some, new things, and brought it back home and then brought Mickey in. He came in, we grinded it out a little bit, and now we're just finishing things off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when I texted you the other day, that the reason I did, I was like, geez, this fight's come up quick. Like, I didn't realize, like, we talked right after the fight got made, and then I was like, oh God, this fight's come up quick. Like, time flies, man.
That's the way it always happens, man. That's why, I start training right away, man. Start getting ready to get ready. So I'm ready now.
Yeah, you never really stop getting ready, though. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I never really come completely out of the gym, but the fight shape is a different thing, though. Being ready to fight and just being, ready to fight on the biggest stage of the UFC versus just being ready, for, I don't know, just ready to fight. It's two different things.
Yeah. So obviously, everything at the gym, I know obviously the pandemic is finally, it looks like we're finally getting past that. Immortal Martial Arts has been able to survive and do well during the pandemic, but how is everything at the gym, and how much do you actually get to, like, when you're in fight camp, like, do you just focus on the training, or are you still in business mode a little bit?
I'm lucky. I got good people around me that help out with the gym, so I don't really have to be in business mode much. Of course, things come up. You got to, at a gym, you got there's a lot of testosterone and a lot of crazy people. I mean, so there's a lot of things that always come up. We have a, pretty decent amount of employees now. So yeah, there's always something coming up. You got to deal with things here and there, but I mainly 99% stay focused on the fight. And we got some big things coming up with the gym too, which I want to make sure they're solidified before I make any actual announcements, but, we got some big things coming up.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this a lot, both on and off, interviews, but I know your future when your fighting career is done, coaching is going to be a big part of your future. And I imagine even when you're in fight camp, like, I'm sure obviously you're still giving out advice and things like that, but now that you own your own gym, like, how much do you see that future, like, in, years from now? Like, cause I know how much you've actually said to me, you feel like I'll be a better coach than I was a fighter when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I still believe that. And that's what coach's job is, to make the fighter better than they were, right? That's exactly what a coach's job is. So I definitely think I'll be a better coach than fighter. And we got some real good talent right now, man. We got some good guys coming up. We got, just in the last 2 months, we've won 2 amateur titles. These guys are both about ready to go pro. So, man, we got, some real good talent. And these guys, like I said, once they go pro and they start moving along, we have another guy who's going to be fighting on Contender Series in September, AJ Dobson. And as these guys get better and better, they're going to require more time. So that's going to require more of my time. And so I think the transition will be natural over time. But right now, I'm focused on my fight and what I'm doing.
Yeah. With that being said, we talked after the last one and kind of right before this one actually got made. And you talked about the future. Listen, you obviously you understand.
Yeah, go get it. Sorry.
Hey, daddy time never ends. We know that.
Never.
You've acknowledged that, listen, everyone knows you can't fight forever. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And obviously, I'm not saying that like Dhiego Lima is the last fight or 10 fights from now is the last fight, but knowing that you have things that are already in the works for the future, like the unknown of the fighter retirement, I think has always been one of the scariest things. When you retire as a fighter, what comes next? And I think that's what brings a lot of guys back, because like they don't have that. And I remember talking to Michael Bisping when he retired. He's like, he's got acting and broadcasting and all this other stuff, and like it's kept him from, like, he doesn't need to fight now. Like he's got a future beyond fighting. Obviously you're not retiring yet, but like, do you feel like that will help you with that transition, knowing that you've kind of got your future set for yourself?
Yeah, and that was the whole point of building the gym and the coffee companies, have something for when I retire and try to maximize my brand, while I'm out there in the spotlight a lot. So at this point, I mean, I could retire right now, if I wanted to. I just love fighting, so that it's actually kind of a relief knowing like I could retire if I wanted, but it feels so good to know that I'm fighting because I want to, just because I love it and not because I have to.
Well, that's a huge thing. Listen, I get it. Everyone fights for different reasons, but when you get to like, and the horror stories, some guys fight because they can't afford another lifestyle. That's all they do. Fighting just because you love it and because you want to do it, that's a whole other mentality, right? Because there's a bit of that desperation. You see it when some guys come back, you kind of shake your head like, man, like you kind of feel bad for them. Like, you don't have to do that. You're literally doing this because you want to do it.
Exactly. And yeah, man, that's a good feeling. And, I'm still, I've lost my last two, but I still think like, I still feel like I'm going out there performing well. I think I have a lot left to prove. I think I have a lot left in my tank. I think there's a lot that I can still do in the sport. It's like, it's the never ending mystery, just trying to put everything together just right so that you perform on that night, man. And that's what I'm trying to do. And, trying to get more experience and try to motivate, the next generation that I'm going to help start coaching and show them, inspire them and just show them like, you can do this too. Like I'm just a person that works harder than everyone else. And of course I got some gifts and some genetic gifts and some special things about me, but you could have those things too. They're within yourself. So, you could go out there and do this if you really want it.
Absolutely. And to that point, you mentioned your last couple of fights. I mean, listen, we talked after the Carlos Condit fight. That was a battle. No shame there. And you admitted what went wrong, what didn't work for you. You were kind of weirded out by like the whole cardio thing, what happened in that fight. And in the previous fight, you could argue you had a stoppage, you had a win, you know what I mean? And obviously there was a bit of a questionable stoppage after that. So, I mean, again, no shame in either of those fights. Dhiego Lima, super tough guy, and I know you've never been the guy to handpick your opponents, but as soon as I heard about this one, I was like, yeah, this is fun. Diego's a tough dude. Obviously, you have experience fighting his brother. Again, not that it really matters in terms of opponents, but I was like, yeah, this is a fun one.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And me and Dhiego, we know each other. Like, I fought his brother. I coached him on The Ultimate Fighter. So we know a little bit about each other. We know each other's style. I mean, I've got obviously tons of tape on me. Like, everybody knows what I do. My tendencies and everything. I know Dhiego pretty well. We trained together a little bit. So we've felt each other's bodies before, you know what I mean? Like, we know like our strengths a little bit. I coached against him when I was with Jesse Taylor. I coached Jesse through that whole camp to fight Dhiego. So, I don't think that there's no like secrets in this fight. That there's no like, I wonder what he's going to do or what he's going to do. Like, we know each other and we know what we're both bringing to the table. So we're both going to go out there, and I think it'll be a great show. So I'm real excited for this one, and I know he's going to be looking to get revenge for his brother, right? Like, I'm sure that's Who knows? I mean, I don't know if that's a motivation for him, but it's got to be a little bit in the back of his brain, right? Like, you know, you want to get that one back for him. I'm sure his brother's feeling that way, like, you know, get that one back for me. So, you know, I expect him to come out, you know, ready. And, you know, it's been a long training camp. We had a long notice for this fight. So I expect both of us to be completely prepared and ready to go out there and put on war. And just stylistically, it's just a great matchup, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's no like bad blood. I know Dhiego, pretty well. He's a, super nice guy. And like I said, I don't think there's bad blood, but listen, you knocked his brother out. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You didn't split decision his brother. You knocked him out. So, I mean, listen, there's always going to be a little bit of that family pride. I mean, come on, there's going to be a little bit of that in the back of his head.
Yeah. And I got to imagine Diego was probably there when I did it. So he probably remembers it. I didn't knock him out though. I was a TKO, but regardless, stopped him. And like I said, he was probably there, and he's probably been that was a big surprise at the time. No one expected me to come in and beat Douglas Lima at that time. So I'm sure they remember that night pretty well. You know, Douglas was 12-0 at the time. I was brought in more or less as a sacrificial lamb. You know, it was a short notice fight for me. It was, in his hometown, the main event. You know, I think they wanted someone just to come in and get beat up, and I think that's what they were expecting out of me, or out of him and me. And I didn't let that happen. So there's no way that's not been on their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird one because, like, when you fought Carlos, you guys had been scheduled to fight a couple of times, so you knew Carlos very well. You kind of trained for Carlos already, but with Dhiego, it's a little different because you haven't trained to fight him before, but you've trained with him, you've trained alongside him, you've coached him, and you've coached against him. Is that weird, or is it like helpful? Because like I know you and Jesse Taylor are obviously completely different fighters, but you've studied him as a coach. I know a lot of fighters like they depend on their coaches to like study an opponent kind of for them to get them ready. So I'm sure you've really studied Dhiego Lima at this point. So like, is it weird? Is it fun to have that much knowledge on a guy?
I mean, I guess the knowledge would probably be about the same regardless, because we would still watch him and study him all the same. I think the only difference was like I was replicating Dhiego for Jesse a lot of times. But at the same time, Jesse's game plan, as we all know, if you've ever watched JT fight, take you down, submit you, or ground pound you. So, his approach and the approach that we worked on with JT to do his game plan is much different than my approach.
Yeah. This is like stylistically, it's kind of like the Condit fight. Like, we don't really need to say much. We kind of know what you bring. We kind of know what he brings. This just kind of has Dynamite written all over it. But obviously you're not looking for Dynamite. You're not looking for him to have a good night and have a fight of the night. You want to go out there and knock him out and get out early. When you look at this, do you think that's always a possibility when you fight? But when you look at Dhiego's style, do you feel like he's going to give you those openings? He's going to give you those possibilities for you to do what you've done to guys like Diego Sanchez in the past?
It is very possible, for sure. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be ready to go in there and do that. And, if he slips up one time, then it's going to be a short night for him. So he better stay on his A game from beginning to end. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling powerful, fast, strong. And I think I might be the best that I've ever been right now. So he better be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about the gym. You've also got the coffee company kicking now. How is that going?
Very good. That was the pandemic helped that a lot, actually. Everybody's sitting at home and getting coffee ordered and delivered to them. So, and then that got a lot of people hooked on it, because we have some of the best coffee I've ever had in my life. And so, that's been that was a real blessing, having the pandemic in that sense.
Did you ever imagine, like when we first met, going back, more than a decade ago at this point, like you were just a fighter. When I met you, obviously you didn't have kids or anything, but like you weren't a family man. But like, did you ever imagine you'd be Matt Brown, the businessman? Now you're running businesses. Like, you are Matt Brown, the businessman.
I kind of did. I mean, it runs in my family. Like all of my uncles have businesses. My dad owns a business. My grandpa owned a business. It's something that I always wanted to do. So yeah, I think I kind of knew it would happen eventually. And that was kind of always my dream, was to be a UFC champion and to own my own gym. Didn't get to be champion yet. So, but I do have my own gym. So
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, more businesses spring up. Like I said, Immortal Martial Arts is doing well. We could see more Immortal Martial Arts across the country. We could see other Matt Brown businesses pop up. Like I said, you got always
absolutely.
opportunities out there. Like I said, that's the cool thing about it. I'm sure you got other ideas. Once fighting is done, I'm sure there'll be other Matt Brown enterprises.
Oh, absolutely. We have a spin off of the gym right now that we're working on that's going to be probably bigger, better business than any gym.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's awesome. So now I can't talk to you without talking about stuff outside of your fight, Matt. Now I'm not gonna ask you a fight question right now. I'm gonna ask you a music question. What's been on the playlist as you're getting ready for Dhiego Lima?
Oh man, you're gonna be disappointed, Damon. I've been maybe in my old age, I've kind of mellowed out a lot, man.
So Miley Cyrus, you've been listening to a lot of Miley. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, not that mellow. Man. Like, I don't know, Black Keys type stuff. A lot like Southern rock kind of stuff. Just, I don't know. I've been making a lot of my own music, to be honest. Like, that's probably been more on my plate than listening to music, to be honest. Like, that's been a big thing for me on the side. I played guitar for a long, long time, but I never, actually wrote my own songs. And now I got probably about 10 songs that are, halfway finished. And, maybe I'll get a vocalist and come up with maybe release an album sometime.
That'd be awesome. I've heard you play guitar. Like I said, you got legit guitar skills. I was very impressed when I heard you play guitar, because I tried to play guitar once. It did not work out well. So it's not easy, man. It's not an easy skill to pick up.
No, it takes a lot of practice. That's the whole thing, right? And when I was a kid, I used to get grounded to my room all the time. So I would just pick up the guitar, and we always had a guitar laying around the house. So that was the way I would pass time when I was grounded to my room. So
yeah.
Being a troubled kid kind of paid off in that sense.
Yeah, hey, there's nothing wrong. Like I said, Black Keys, they're an Ohio group. They're from Akron. They're good. Yeah. I like their music. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with branching out. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with listening to other stuff. I mean, I talk all the time about how much I love Run the Jewels. Like, that's a rap group that I absolutely love. So like I said, you got to branch out. I know I sent you that one band, Ghost Iris, that you checked out, and I like them a lot. And, we listen about, Gojira, things like that. But I'm like, hey, there's nothing wrong with listening to other stuff. Like, there's no right or wrong way to it, unless maybe if you listen to like Nickelback, I might have a problem with that. But, I know your favorite Papa Roach. I know you're big fans of them. So,
Yeah. Right. No, man, that's exactly what it is. I don't know. Like, again, maybe I'm just getting older, but I just haven't been into the metal quite as much lately, even though like the new Gojira album is amazing. At least the songs that I've heard off of it. I don't know if is it fully released yet?
Yeah, it's out. It's out. Yeah, it's out.
I know they released a few other songs, but those are all amazing stuff. I don't know. I think it's just natural, man. Like, when you get older, you're just like, you don't feel like listening about chopping people's heads off and shit anymore. It's like, I don't know. It's just more relatable. I don't know, man. But I think like playing guitar and making my own music, like I've never actually made metal music, even though like I cover a lot of metal songs. Like, I've never, anytime I've written my own music, it's always been like something you could play around the campfire or something, you'd be listening to in a more mellow, like, drinking bar setting or something. And so I think like just writing my own music a lot more has just kind of got me into listening to the type that I play a lot more.
Yeah. I heard you play electric. Do you play acoustic at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got right behind me here. I got, let's see. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I got acoustic, three electric guitars, and a bass guitar. And um, I think the bass is probably actually what got me into the more mellow music. I've been jamming the bass a lot lately, and metal bass is not fun to play. Never has been, never will be. Um, but when the more funky type stuff, the slap bass, the Primus, stuff like that is a blast to play.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I know, obviously your buddies, lead singer of Tool, Maynard, is a buddy of yours. And one thing I love about Maynard is, I mean, I love Tool, don't get me wrong, but I love all the other stuff he does, like Pucifer, all the other stuff. Like he doesn't do everything is just like, I mean, not that Tool is necessarily like, it's not Cannibal Corpse, but like they're metal, but like the other stuff he does, like I dig like Perfect Circle, I dig Pucifer, and like not everything sounds the same. Like I like that he can branch out and do different things. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with like, listen to different music, playing different music. Like I said, I love the Black Keys. I've been a Black Key. I saw the Black Keys in concert a couple times. So like they're great.
Nice, I agree. And Perfect Circle is the best band out of all of Maynard's projects, in my opinion. Way better than Tool, in my opinion. And Tool's one of my top 5 favorite bands in history. But as just musically, like Perfect Circle's a way better band, I think.
It's funny you say that. I always send you metal bands that I discover. So I'm like, Matt's not going to want to hear from like the newest, alternative group I'm listening. Now I'm going to send you alternative stuff all the time now because I send you the metal stuff. I'm going to start sending you the other stuff I listen to.
Absolutely. Did I send you the Richelieu one?
I did. I actually meant to message you back about that. I actually really liked that. I was actually really digging that. So
yeah, that was just a off the wall find, and I was like, damn, like these guys fucking kill it, man. This is good.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a band. Have you heard of a local band called Lopan? Have you heard of them?
No.
They're a Columbus band. They're kind of like a little bit more of that like stoner rock kind of metal. You know what I mean? Like they have, you'll hear them and you'll hear some you'll hear some Tool influence. Like you'll hear a little bit of that Tool influence, but they're more of like that Queens of the Stone Age, kind of the Mastodon. Like Mastodon's not like full on metal. They're kind of like that stoner metal kind of sound. I like them a lot. They're a local band here from Columbus, the Lopan, just like the Big Trouble in Little China. They're really good. And then, if you're into like the stoner sound, but like a little bit more like the horror movie stuff, there's this band I discovered called the Bloody Hammers. They're amazing. They're not super heavy, but they have like, their lyrics and their songs are all about like kind of like horror movies, like zombies and stuff like that. Yeah. Kind of like Ghost, but like, Ghost isn't like super heavy either. So like kind of the same kind of thing there. Like I would check them out. Like I've been really into them as well. Now I'm gonna be sending you all kinds of stuff. Now that I know you're not like just so full on, like I'd send you Slayer. Now I know I'm gonna be sending you all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, and I've never been like just only metal. I've always loved all the other stuff, but I guess just lately, I don't know. Just I mean, I've been listening to metal. Not exclusively, but like I said, I've always listened to other stuff, but primarily metal for what, like 25 years now, and I mean, there's so many great bands, like you could keep going, but it's just, I just feel like it's time to explore more, and it's just, there's just, I think when you start playing the music, like that is the one thing with metal, even though there's, some of the best musicians in the world, that's very underrated how great the metal musicians are, but it's still somewhat limited in like the techniques and stuff that you're doing on the guitar. So when you started exploring other genres, and the techniques it's just funner, I think, to play, just because you can like you can do anything, you know what I mean? With metal, realistically, like some things you're just never going to hear. You're never going to hear a slap bass in metal, right? I mean, maybe one guy will sometime, but like there's always that one guy. There's just a lot of things that you'll just never hear. So it just makes it more interesting, and but I love them all, man. And like you said, you brought up Mastodon. I was just looking at Cruise, the Mastodon, Chevelle, and someone else is going to be a headline the cruise. I was like, dude, I got to go to this one, man. Mastodon's the best ever. So
yeah, Yeah, and Chevelle, I think those guys in Chevelle are MMA guys as well. I met them years ago. I was buddies with. I think I may have introduced. I can't remember if I introduced you years ago, but my buddy Phil, who used to play bass for Taproot. If you remember Taproot,
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
yeah, I went on one of their shows. I was hanging out backstage, and it was them, Disturbed, Chevelle, and 30 Seconds to Mars. And it turned out like all those guys, like Jared Leto, like all those guys were watching UFC fights. Cause Phil's big into jujitsu. Like he's always been big into jujitsu, but yeah, now, they're all big UFC fans as well. I think the Chevelle guys are too. So
Very cool, man. I mean, everybody's into MMA and UFC these days, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
like who's not, man? There's something wrong with you if you're not into it. That's what the purest sport there is in the world, man. You gotta love it.
Absolutely. So when it's all said and done, man, when the career's over, the immortal Matt Brown becomes the mellow Matt Brown, and he becomes that's the mellow Matt Brown album. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the mellow Matt Brown album.
Hey, maybe I'll be a rock star in my second half of my life.
Hey, you never know. You never know. Everyone, like I said, I love it. I love the diversity. You can never pigeonhole yourself to one thing, right?
Absolutely, man. And that's the fun of playing the guitar and stuff, man. Like it's wide open. Do whatever you want with it.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, I appreciate you doing this, man. It's so funny. We do this over Skype, and you live 10 minutes away from me. But such is life as we still come out of the pandemic. So I appreciate you doing this. Obviously, have a safe rest of your training camp. Safe travels back to the fight. This one's back in Vegas. Now we're getting crowds again, though. We got to get. I was actually shocked they haven't brought it. I figured they're going to have to bring a card to Ohio soon because Ohio's opened up again. I feel like now that we're kind of getting back to normal, like they got to bring a card back to Ohio again because they were going to do the card in Columbus, and obviously that would have been perfect for you. But now we're open back up again. They got to come back to Columbus now.
I really hope so, man. That'd be a dream come true, man. Especially if they time it just right. Maybe it work out. That could be my retirement fight and my last Raw here in Columbus, and that would be a beautiful thing, man.
Absolutely, Matt. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother.